Senate. Let's bring in House Ways and Means Committee member, Texas Republican Jody Arrington. Good to see you again, Congressman. Thanks for being here. Do you think climate change issues belong in a trade deal?
No, I don't, and I'm glad that the newly negotiated trade deal with Canada and Mexico does not include any new binding international accords or conventions like the job-killing Paris Climate Accord. I'm glad that we have a more even playing field with Mexico with respect to labor and environmental. I think that's important, and I'm glad we've opened up new markets in Canada all the way around. This is a win for the United States. And then you got China, you had Japan recently. We've covered 51% of our export markets with these three transformative deals. The president gets an A++, and America's prospects for prosperity are looking all the better.
Jonathan?
I mean, Congressman, of all the reasons to vote against a trade deal, climate change to me seems like the most asinine. I mean, the fact that Democrats are pushing this, don't we have a real risk to the economy that Democrats push forward the same type of environmental regulations that have stifled economic growth in Europe for the better part of a decade now?
Absolutely. I mean, they want the new Green Deal, the Green New Deal, which is, as you said, asinine. It's unaffordable. It will break the bank of this country. And they continue to push these job-killing environmental regulations. And I don't understand. We're leading in reduction in key pollutants. We're leading the world. And so I think this trade deal at its core is about fair and reciprocal relationships. It's about playing by the same rules. It's about free and open access to trade products and services. That's what trade ought to be about. And I think, again, with 170,000 new jobs on the prospect and $60+ billion in economic growth, USMCA is a major win, not just for the president, for farmers, for manufacturers, especially the auto sector, I would note.
So, Congressman, you don't feel we need to do anything about emissions, about fuel standards, about environmental issues, global climate change? You think all of that is just hunky-dory and we should just...
In a trade deal, Zach, in a trade deal.
No, I'm asking the question of where should these things be addressed, and is Congress, are you planning to address this in Congress if you think that it's completely inappropriate and job-killing in any kind of international forum?
Well, the Paris Agreement is certainly job-killing, and the numbers are out there for everybody to see.
Well, I mean, that is debatable. I mean, their numbers are not out there for everyone to see, but you can make the argument that it...
Well, they are, and in fact, America leads in carbon emission reduction. They lead in key pollutant reduction. And so there is a forum, I think, for this discussion of how best to steward the environment. Again, we're leading, and I think the fact that we would give China a pass on this when they're the biggest polluter is ridiculous. I think that in terms of the Mexico-Canada deal, I think it's important to move Mexico up to the standards that we have so that the cost to produce isn't disparate and we don't have another giant sucking sound of jobs going to Mexico. That's how I see it.
And let's be clear, there is not one country complying with the Paris Agreement deal that they said they would be complying with. And let's be clear about another part of the equation. Our great corporations, and I speak to CEOs all the time, they are doing tons of things going towards less emissions, going more green, caring about environment. The market is taking care of itself. All this talk about how bad we are on the environment, we are doing great things here in this country as we move forward, and it's going to get better and better as these companies know they have to as we go forward. So I don't want to keep hearing the rest.
Congressman, I would totally echo what Gary Kaltbaum was just talking about. Corporations are doing this on their own. They don't need mandates from on high to do it. My question is one of politics. It seems like Chuck Schumer took a real swipe at Nancy Pelosi here, because Nancy Pelosi has been touting the advantages of the USMCA, calling it a big win, not just for the president, but making it clear that she thinks Democrats in the House really crafted this treaty. So what do you make of that?
Well, they're definitely on a different page. I think that Pelosi rightfully sees that what the president did to provide stronger worker provisions on the Mexico side, which even the playing field is going to prevent jobs from going to Mexico. And I think she sees it maybe differently. She wants them to have the same union rights, the same right to strike, etc. I think the president and I see it more as leveling the playing field. But either way, she thinks it's going to be good for America, as do the majority of Democrats in the House per their vote before we send it to the Senate.
Congressman Jody Arrington, always a pleasure to have you on, Congressman. Thanks
David,
very
good to
much.
be with
Please
you
come
guys.
back and
Thank
see us
you.
again.